All right. And then before we really get into things, I thought it would be nice to start with a little meditation. So feel free to, well, you all have your cameras off, so that might be nice. And then, feel free to close your eyes or soften your gaze. And just, we'll kind of start with a little meditation to open the space. So let's all just take a few deep breaths, connecting with ourselves again, wherever we may be, wherever we've been, whatever we've been up to earlier today, reconnecting, settling in, leaving all of our other many priorities with us outside of the space. Take a moment to just feel your feet connected to the floor if you're sitting, or your body connecting to wherever it's meeting the earth, or the furniture beneath you that's connecting to the earth. Just give yourself a couple more deep breaths to land here in the moment, in the present. And when you feel ready, just go ahead and gently, slowly open your eyes and meet me back in the space. Right. So, working with fire. We have this lovely Aries moon here that I'm so happy it worked out to to have with us today. So a little background on why I wanted to do this and why I want to be talking about fire in general right now. Obviously, there's a lot of transits happening this year with fire, but really for me, this started back like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I, had been studying astrology for a while at that point, starting to practice. And as part of my studies and my journey of like self-discovery, I had a reading with the lovely Kira Ryberg, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with here. And it was her acorn reading, like her signature reading, where we look at a lot of spirit. And, one of the big takeaways for me, and one of the new ways that I really saw my chart after that, was seeing myself as like a light in the dark for other people. I have the sun in the 8th house in Libra. I have a lot of Scorpio placements. I have my lot of spirit in the 12th house in Aquarius. And, my path has not always been very linear. It's been very nonlinear. So I think it kind of sparked something for me, like hearing that phrase. And I don't know, it's been something that's been with me now for about 2 years. And after that reading, I kind of sat with that imagery for a while. And, one of the first, like, what I thought was like an image that came to mind, it wasn't an image, but I found out later it was more, was like I thought it was like an idea for a painting, essentially, something like where I was turning and lighting the fire in the heart of someone, and then that person was turning around and lighting the fire in the person behind them, and like this whole process going out into infinity where people are getting their heart fires lit up by the person that came before them. And so this like really symbolic imagery that I thought one day I'll paint that. And of course, I'm a mom of three and I have a lot going on. And my youngest is now 3. So it just has not happened. It has not materialized into a painting. But really, when when Neptune went into Aries earlier this year, it like something happened for me where it clicked that like this is not just an idea for a painting. Like this is really a vision for how I want to live my life, for how I want to operate my practice as an astrologer and a mystic. So thus this whole fire series was born, and I really just started to have all of these downloads about how I really want to incorporate fire as like a lens for learning astrology and going beyond astrology and talking more about like or using astrology as a tool for like liberation, essentially, where we can liberate ourselves with this. And then in turn, like, the idea is to hopefully liberate other people and to have this big ripple effect that goes out into infinity. So that's kind of where a lot of this is coming from. We have these big transits, and I think, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I think a lot of astrologers have been talking about the Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries as like very scary and very and not without reason, right? I followed the logic. I understand the historical context of these transits, but I also feel like fire has just been completely co-opted by like the patriarchy and by um these like scary things like war and things that we see playing out with some of these transits. And I want to take that back because I think that fire is not just this like destructive thing, right? Like there's another side of it that is really helpful in creating and regenerating. So that's really what I want to explore. And I want to take back the narrative on fire, and I want to like help other people realize that we can shape our reality by how we engage with this energy. So that being said, I think without further ado, I can start to get into how I'm kind of envisioning using fire in this way and working with fire. So I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. Oh, if it will let me. Give me 1 minute here. All right, can you all see my screen now?
Sorry, I'm saying yes.
Okay, great.
But I'm muted.
Thank you.
Sorry, it took me a second to find the unmute, but yes, we can see it.
Great. Thanks so much. So, all right. So the first layer that I'm thinking about, like I really want to move through fire, using the modalities from cardinal to fixed to mutable, and working with the energy of each of the fire signs to kind of play a different role in our understanding of fire. So for Aries, to me, I mean, this is like the cardinal sign. This is where we kind of see, for me, I see this as like where we're starting the flame, right? Like we're igniting the fire. And I think everybody has fire in them all the time, right? Like I think all of the elements are present all of the time. I think for many of us, we've been told, especially women and femmes, like we've been told that fire really isn't for us. So it can maybe sometimes be like a very tiny ember or a flame that just needs something to kickstart it. But really using that imagery of like lighting the fire and like striking a match with the cardinal sign, think someone's trying to get in here. Okay. Oh, Sonia's
Just
raised a
checking.
hand.
Yeah, I can't see anything on your screen. I can see that it's presenting, but
Mm.
can't see a slide yet.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Sonia. Mm. How about now?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, thank you
Yeah.
for telling me. So really about like igniting that energy. It's a cardinal sign. That means that it likes to initiate, it likes to start things, it likes to kick things off. So when we think about fire in that sense, like really the best imagery for me is always just like that striking a match and how it's like instantaneous. It doesn't go from like nothing to like slightly being something. It's like that first burst of energy is really the biggest when you're striking a match, right? So we're using that type of energy here to tap into the self. Aries, oh, another raised hand. Can you see my screen or no? Is that you, Sonia?
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh, it's
Oh,
gone again.
sorry.
The presentation's gone again, but I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Oh, okay.
Don't know what's happened.
It's okay. All right, I'll go back. So
That's it. Yeah.
Aries is a cardinal sign. It's a fire sign. We can also think about Aries as a lot to do with the self. So Aries on the zodiac is opposite from Libra. Libra is the sign associated with like the other person, with your relationships, how we relate to each other. Aries is more about I and me, and a lot of that has to do with it being ruled by Mars and the sun. Um, Mars is a planet of like severing, of conflict, of like deep primordial instincts, like at a gut level. So it's more about like taking care of the self, right? And then we have the sun there too, which is totally wrapped up in like ego and like what it is we want to do in the world, like what it is our purpose is, how we want to be seen. So really leaning into that part of Aries, I think again, in the same way that fire has been co-opted by by men in particular, Aries can be an energy that a lot of women and femmes are not as comfortable tapping into. Like we're used to doing things for other people. We're used to like doing like the Libra Venusian thing of like, serving others and maybe sometimes putting others in front of ourselves. And then when we fall out of touch with like the Aries energy, it can be really hard to even know what we like or like what inspires us or like what it is we enjoy doing, what we want to be doing, tapping into saying no to something like that Mars energy, right? Of like saying, actually, that's not what I want. So I think Aries is like great for working with like how can we find really what inspires us? What sparks that light inside of us? And I think that this is different for everyone. I think this is a really personal question and it can be a really uncomfortable question for a lot of us. Like I know for myself as a mother, it's like hard to even think about like stopping to ask myself that question. So I think one of the things like that I'm exploring with this question is thinking about tapping into that more, like really like making myself put a pin in what I do actually enjoy and committing to something that I do enjoy. So for me in my journey, what has been really helpful with like lighting that spark has been the book, The Artist's Way. So in The Artist's Way, there are some like practical things that help you do this. It's a little bit of a structure. But one of the main things is like taking yourself on artist dates and, not going and doing something just because you have to do it in like your long checklist of things. It's like, what would you actually like to do? And then like having to take yourself out and actually do it. So for me, that was like a really big aha moment of like tapping into what it is I want to be doing and what it is I want to spend my time doing. So I think like working with that Mars, working with the sun, this is just like kind of checking in with yourself like on a gut level. Like when a lot of us are trained to like dismiss those like gut instincts, or like things that we liked when we were little. Like Aries is a very young sign too. It's like, again, it's a cardinal sign. Like depending on what type of astrology you study, it starts the astrological year in the spring with the spring equinox. So there's like this very young, playful quality to it. So a lot of what you might be interested in is like looking back to when you were a child and really getting in touch with that inner child and thinking about like, what did they like to do? Maybe like spending some time together and, asking them what they liked to do. A lot of my work is really informed, I should say, by the work of Britton LaRue. And she uses a lot of inner child healing techniques. So if you're curious about that, that might be something to check out. But yeah, it's just spending some time with like that deeper part of you, not the part that's like people pleasing, not the part that's doing things for any other reason other than because you fucking want to. That's what Aries is about. Yeah. So then we move on to our fixed sign of Leo. So fixed signs come in the middle of the season, and they're about carrying out the mission that the sign before it started, the cardinal sign that came before it. So with Leo, I want to tap into Leo to really stoke the flame that we started with Aries, to nurture that flame and to tend it so that we can continue this passion that we started. Leo is really about showing up. It's ruled by the sun. The sun rises every day. The sun sets every day. I think Krista of Practical Astros said that on one of my podcasts with her. It's very reliable. So often you hear about Leo as like they just want to be center stage, or they like really just have a lot of pride and want to be seen, like all of these stereotypes about Leos. But I think the best takeaway I've had of like working with Leos, befriending Leos, like being a mother to a Leo is like it's not about the stage so much. It's about the consistency, and it's about the sun and the warmth of that sun coming every day. It doesn't take a day off. Even when it's cloudy, like we know it's still there. It shows up every year at the right time to grow all of the plants, to give us all food and life. There's something really like caring and warm about the sun, even though it's technically like a yang, more like patriarchal character in the planets. So I think we can really use that energy like for, first of all, ourselves, right? Like how can we continue to just show up for ourselves? It's easy as a mother to like, I show up every day for my kids. I do all of the things I need to do. But something I have found difficult is like continuing to show up for like who I am and what my goals are here outside of being a mother. And a lot of that being like my astrological practice or my creative practice. So I think just like kind of steeping ourselves in that solar energy of like, yes, I'm going to be here every day. Some days it might be cloudy. I might not be super shiny every day. I might not be doing it perfectly every day. But I'm going to show up, right? And I'm going to continue to tend that flame. And like, how do we continue to do that when things get tough? How do we continue to do that when everything in life can go wrong, or, you know, work happens, life happens, sickness happens, all kinds of things happen. But what can we do to put in enough like warmth and understanding for ourselves to continue to just keep going, you know? Like the sun keeps shining even when we have a crazy person elected president. Like the sun keeps shining when there's like war happening. So I think kind of like taking that as inspiration for ourselves and showing that compassion to ourselves is really where I see this happening. And then, you know, that in turn becomes something that other people give themselves. Like when I see somebody doing that for them, it's like, oh, okay, like I can actually do that for myself as well. And you know, there's other things that we can use to tend to ourselves. It's like, sure, like self-care has been a hot topic especially since COVID. But like beyond like the face masks or beyond like the, you know, everything showers, like I think that there's other ways of self-care that we can give ourselves. Like again, going back to the artist's way, there's the artist dates. Like how am I going to take myself out to just let myself enjoy life a little bit? It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be like buying myself something. It can be like going to the free museum that I love to go to. It can be taking a walk in my favorite park and not looking at my phone for a half an hour. You know, what can we do to keep that spark alive? And I think about this a lot in terms of like things needed literally for fire. So like one of the things that comes to mind is like air, right? And oxygen. And like literally we could get into a whole thing about air signs and using those tools there, but also just like space, right? Like I think so much of our life is like, at least mine is like very scheduled, like 1 minute to the next, where there's not a lot of downtime for like thinking. There's not a lot of time for just to be. So I think like putting that space in there can really, like unscheduled, unaccounted for time can really just be helpful into getting to know ourselves and nourishing that interior flame. And then last but not least, we get to our mutable fire sign, Sagittarius. So being a mutable sign, it comes at the end of the season. It comes when it's indicative of beginnings and endings. You know, we're wrapping up one season and we're moving into the next. And being a fire sign, I think of Sagittarius as really like a moving wildfire that's like, and on one hand kind of scary, on the other hand like infectious and like and regenerative. So it's about spreading the flame. It's about sharing that light with other people that we've started to cultivate, right? Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter does a lot of things. It's associated with like optimism and abundance, but also a really good keyword for Jupiter is hope. And so I really see this in fire as like being that beacon of hope for other people. Like when we're so on fire with our own stuff, with our own passions and our own life, and like kind of having this life that's become re-enchanted by looking at what we enjoy doing and doing more of it, we become like this bright, blinding light for other people. And, you know, it sounds maybe like a little out there, but like I think other people can feel that and are attracted to that. And there's something about it that's infectious and that makes other people want to become like that too. And then I genuinely think when more people are feeling that way, that like we can't help but create a better reality for everyone to exist in. You know, I think that Jupiter here really helps us like synthesize what we've learned through the other signs. Like we've started it with Aries, we've nurtured it with Leo, and then with Jupiter, it kind of becomes about like spreading that and like transmitting it to everyone. I think there's something here too with Jupiter about like the generosity of sharing who you are and like how generous that can be. And this is something like I've definitely struggled with and still do, where it's like, well, I don't know if people really want to know me like on a real on a real level, and like not knowing maybe when to share like deeper with people. But there's something about when you do, and when you do go there with people, that like makes it okay for other people to do that with you. And like how that can almost be like the biggest gift you can give to someone, is like this authenticity or like this generosity of self that like just can let somebody else like like relax and like be like, okay, like they're okay with themselves, like I can maybe be a little more okay with myself. um and then, you know, I think we just circumvent all kinds of issues that we have in society about like fear and like trying to be something that we're not, right? So these are kind of how I see working with the fire signs in some different ways. I think Jupiter also here kind of makes us more about community, right? And like this is like the point where we're like lighting the heart fire of the next person, right? Like we're passing it on. Um, so I think, yeah, that kind of wraps up what I wanted to say about each of the fire signs. And then I also, so this is all kind of like a precursor to a larger course that I'm doing. I hope that this has been like beneficial for people, and I'm hoping that anyone watching the replay has found this beneficial in terms of like tapping into fire. You may not feel like you need more, but this is something I really want to spend a lot of time talking about and going deeper with. So I do have this longer course that is called A Fire Within. It starts May 1st. We're starting on Beltane or Beltane. So there's a lot of connotations there already with fire, but even more so to me, that day is about exactly what this vision was that came through about like the collective liberation and igniting people's passions and igniting the next person's passion so that we can all start to liberate ourselves from the chains of capitalism, from you know, just how our culture in general has been operating for a long time now. So there's that with starting on May 1st. That felt like the time to do it. Well, it's a 12-week course. We're going to spend 1 month with each of the fire signs. So this is going to look like some astrological teachings, getting more into the nitty-gritty of astrology. I would say it's appropriate astrological information for beginners and for seasoned experts. I think we're going to be looking at it more in like a intuitive, immersive way. So I think that there are things that any level can take away from that. And then in addition to the astrological teachings, I'm going to be providing some like meditations and contemplative material for you to kind of really steep yourself in that energy. This is all going to be 99% asynchronous. So the little courses, the little episodes will be dropping every week, kind of like breadcrumbing at the right pace. So there's no need to like commit to any type of like live event. I'm going to have a few live events that you're welcome to attend, but they'll all be recorded. And then, so we'll spend a month with each fire sign, and I'm building in a week at the end of each of the modules, of the 3 modules, that's just on your own. There's no course information dropping that week. There's no material happening. It's time for you to reflect and spend your time like in your own deep reflection, like again, giving that space, that oxygen that fire needs to really feed itself. So it's a very like dense course, but a very like spacious course at the same time. It's learn at your own pace. It's everything is like a lifetime, you know, access to it. So it doesn't like expire at the end of the 3 months. You can really learn at your own pace and choose your own adventure. One of the optional things will be to participate in the Artist's Way. It happens to also be exactly 12 weeks for the whole process. It's a book, but it's also more so like a process. There's all kinds of activities to be doing with it. And that's optional because I don't want people to feel like, oh, this is another thing like I have to do. But it's an option that I think really lends itself well to kind of bringing the teaching of fire down into like the real life for us. And then I'm also like for the community piece of this, going to be providing a group chat that's also optional because I know we all have a lot of group chats and maybe don't feel like that piece is something we want, but you're welcome to opt into that. And so kind of connecting this, again, I want this to be something where we're all doing this work individually, but we have a place to come back to check in with each other, maybe connect with each other. Maybe it's used for like organizing in other ways. However it evolves on its own, I'm open to. So, and then I also have a code here for anyone who is interested. I'm offering like this was my early bird rate that has expired, but I've got a new code for everyone to use that anybody who has attended or is receiving the replay can use the code FIRESALE25 to get 32% off at checkout. This brings it down to roughly about $50 a month. And I'm planning on the content to be about 20 plus hours of course materials, might be closer to 30. So like when you do the math on the hourly rate here, it's like a steal. So yeah, I think if anyone has questions or wants to know more, feel free to ask me now in the space or email me with them if you're not attending live. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to stop presenting now. Does anyone have questions that I could take now? And anything we talked about doesn't have to be about the course. It can be about fire.
That's really fabulous, Janessa. Thank you. It's just that interesting way of looking at fire as that creative spark. I really like the way that you've reframed that.
And thanks, Sonia.
It's just nice with the Saturn Neptune coming into Aries to look at it that way. And I kind of needed to hear that today. Thank you.
Yeah, not a question, more of a comment, but I am a Sag rising, and so I really love the way that you talk about Sagittarius. And I had this mental image while you were talking of 1 year for the Olympics, the opening ceremony. It was when I was a child, I think, so it had to have been like in the 90s. I don't remember which year, but they had an archer light the final, like light the Olympic torch with the like flaming arrow. And that just came to mind when you were describing Sagittarius as about like passing the flame on and like from one person to the next.
I love that. It's Anna Sophia?
Yeah, you got that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is so Sagittarius. My gosh. I feel like I remember that too. I'm not sure which Olympics, but totally.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look it up now.
Yeah. I hope it was like the one in Greece or in Athens. It's just like perfect.
Oh, it might have been that. Yeah, that would be very poetic.
Yeah.
Very appropriate.
If it was, now I'm like really curious. Like, was it intentional? I wonder if they did something with the zodiac. Like I could totally see that happening. The opening ceremony. But all right. Well, I just appreciate all of your time for being here and making, time in your busy schedules to join me today. I hope that you found this inspiring. And like Sonia said, like reframing fire for the rest of us in a way that is like not death and destruction. So, yeah, just big thanks. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend, a lovely Beltane. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.